Hey, how you doing? So I messed around with spreadsheets and I'm going to show you what I did. So I'd never really worked with spreadsheets before, so it was interesting to explore them. What I wanted to do is basically create a way of like entering the data for my seed sprouter trays, so that I can track what's in there and the status of it. And then, basically have a nice visualization for it. Basically, the product that I wanted was I could like select a cell and then go to a place to enter the data for that cell and get back to the cell. And that's what I created. So it was basically successful. Successful though. Some errors here. Let's see. And but there are definitely some limitations to spreadsheets, which I'm sure you're going to see in the course of this demo. So it was interesting to see what was possible to do within the limitations of spreadsheet world. So basically, the first order of business for me was to try to create like a single source of truth for a lot of just strings. Um, Okay, there we go. That's all repopulated. So I've got a couple of like tables of constants here. Links are where I have sheet names. Really, sheets might be a better word for it, but I have the names of sheets and then URLs to those sheets. And I created this kind of system. I don't know if this is the best way to do it, but basically I used named ranges, which you can access, from anywhere in your spreadsheet, like including all the different sheets. Um, just actually here I could show you the like these are all the named ranges over here that are in my app. So I tried to keep the number fairly small because like I didn't want them, multiplying like crazy. There's a limit of 5,000, I think, just under 5,000, whatever that square is, that's just under 500, 5,000. Um, anyway, so the way that I did this, instead of like having a named range for each thing, I just basically have like an index, which is self-referential and it returns its own row. And because all I really need to know is, once we're in this row using this named range, now that we're in this row, we can just move over to, either one of these columns to get the name of the sheet or the URL we want to link to. And if we want to link to a specific cell, we can just append a query param like range equals and then the address, in the A1 notation, which is a spreadsheet thing. A1 notation is just like this, this is cell B14, A1. Cool. So next up was plants. So same concept here. Got these, and this is frozen, right? Because the named ranges do not move like your data moves. It's actually associated with this. It's just it's like a cipher for this address. So it's actually basically, now that I think about it, I guess it's the same as like the name of the sheet, like plants A2, This is really the same as the named range. It's obviously just easier to reference than memorizing, what that is for each thing. So that's cool. Um, so anyway, like if we were to sort this, then it would totally screw up like the data that's associated with those named ranges. So that's why it's frozen. That's what this indicates, that those rows are frozen. Um, so here we have the same concept. We have the name slash link to the plant. So this is a self-referential link, just so that I can copy this out. You can't actually create links from the custom scripts, custom functions thing. And that is because in this context, we can't update the cell contents from here. The only thing that you can do is return something which is going to like update the value of the current cell. So whatever you return. So the way that this works is any top level function that's defined gets exported. Now, actually, these get exported too. It doesn't have to be in this like function notation. You can use this. This is called an arrow function, which basically is very similar. It just doesn't have a this, and some other stuff. But it doesn't show up in like autocomplete unless you apparently use this function thing and also define all this crap here, which I really kind of didn't, this is the hint text that's going to show up like for the autocomplete. Okay, that's fine. So these are actually getting exported too. You can prevent them from getting exported like that, but it turns out, I believe I actually needed these and switched them to be exported. So the top level functions are available over here. So you can see us using like get index link, for example. But what we can't do is create a link over here and then uh, set the value of one of these cells to that, because unfortunately the way that links work in this, you can't actually return a link. It's like you end up creating, because this is actually the only thing that you can ever return is just plain text. And a link is like a rich text value, basically. You have to use this like create rich text method and all that stuff. And so you can't return it. You have to set the value of the cell to that. We can't do that in this context because there's no opportunity for auth, right? It's just these top level functions that are exposed. It's not like an application. So these functions don't have an opportunity, as far as I know, to authorize into this spreadsheet in order to get permissions to set things. So that was kind of a limitation. I couldn't move like everything out into these functions, into these scripts, which is a little disappointing because like almost everything in here, is linked, because that's how I wanted the product to be. So it still ended up being pretty verbose up here, creating links, but at least we can use these named ranges and these custom functions, to create the links. So it's a lot cleaner than my first iteration was, where I didn't do any app scripts work. So those are the plants, and then the plants are, consumed in this seeds table, I guess. And it's not so good. So, it's supposed to be sortable, but the thing that I noticed what happens is that it starts changing the data before it has finished sorting it. It starts updating or refreshing. So like if I wanted to sort this like alphabetically, which I guess I do, right now it's sorted by, how many are currently planted. It's not going to get all the way there, like it made some progress. Maybe it made total progress this time. Another issue that you're seeing is that spreadsheets are very, very slow. Okay, it got pretty close. Wintermelon, WX. Oh yeah, I know my alphabet. So it actually did that. Current it had more of a difficult time with. Let's see if that works. Um, like I was seeing like 12 here and then there and there, like because things get zeroed out first. Um, but it looks like it's actually performing pretty well right now. Okay, well, so it doesn't always suck, which is nice. Uh, but there are definitely some limitations to spreadsheets. So these are the seeds. The way I designed this, anytime you like click the abbreviation or sign for the seed, it's going to take you to the seed sheet. And anytime you click the name, that takes you to the plants sheet. So if you wanted to access plants, click the name. If you want to get seeds, click the sign. And we use only we're planting seeds in the trays, right? Like I consider them to be seeds and not plants. So we just use the signs over here in the tray. And that's also, works out well for display. So over here, we have like sort of an artificial list of cells. These are the actual cells, and they correspond directly to the cell that they're in, which is nice. Like D3 is actually D3. But over here, D3 is, 24 because you have, 6 times whatever, 6 times 3 plus 3, to get here. Or however that works. Yeah, that would be 6 plus 3. 6 times 3 plus 3, right, would be 21. Plus these first two would be 23. So that's how we get to A23 for D3. And we can decode that too using like quotients and remainders basically. And I did that over somewhere. Trays. yeah, the all about the trays going to and from what I called basically the list versus map, right? So this is the list, this is the map, and I wrote like transforms for those to get to and from. So it's not too difficult or anything. And this part, I don't know. I mean, I'm satisfied. This is what I made it for. So we can get back to the seed over here. We can't get back to the tray except by selecting the tray, because it would be like totally impractical to have like all the cells that this is planted in. Like go ahead and click into one of those cells. Like that doesn't sound good. It is nice to be able to get over to the tray. So the way I envision is like as I'm going through the tray, either transplanting stuff to take it out, it's easier to find it in here and say, okay, it's this one, right? So I can just click into this and update the data appropriately. And we've got a few trays. I have a few trays, some self-watering trays I got from Burpee and this super sprouter thing, which has like a unreasonably high humidity dome, like who is going to grow their seeds in a seed sprouter until they're like 6 or 7 inches tall? Only somebody who is totally new to gardening. That's who. As soon as I actually started like transplanting seeds out of the sprouter and realized that I transplanted them when they were like an inch tall at the most, I realized I really didn't need that, and it comes with this like this grow light that like sits on top of it too, which is also pretty unnecessary for just sprouting seeds. So what I ended up doing was just buying some self-watering burpee trays that have like a little dome on top. And then I have these pucks, these grow light pucks, which I what's that called? A zip tie to the, bottoms of the shells. And I think that's basically enough. It's pretty compact way of sprouting. Anyway, the other thing that I would add onto here basically is I think you can do a button in spreadsheets. So like whenever something was finally transplanted, I would probably just hit this button and it would copy this row out into the history, and then clear out, seed source soil in germinated and transplanted, so that this row would be ready for me to enter new data. That's like a new feature that I might add to this at some point. I guess it's usable. It's not great. It would be better as like a web app, obviously, but you can't create a web app in, I think the total amount of work I did on this is probably like 9 or 10 hours in the last like 2 or 3 nights. Sometimes I'm pretty tired, and I was pretty tired last night when I was working on this too. But anyway, so yeah, that's that. It's not bad. Thanks for looking at my spreadsheet. I'm not sure why you did.